Hey, I'm really sorry for yesterday, right? Actually, I don't know.
No problem.
No. Okay. So, guys, quick review what we have done. Okay, we have done with the basic EIGRP. Come on. We have done with the basic EIGRP. We have done with the how to configure the EIG. What is the use of this command? We have done with the what is use of network statement, right? And we have done with the summarization part. We have done with the all EIGRP packets, right? And yeah. Anything else that we have done in the EIGRP? I don't think so. No, I haven't anything done here. I don't think so. It's only that's the things that I have done right now. Okay, open project contest and perfect. Not EIGRP one. I'll like to go for the OSP, right? That will be better. So some network over there, and no need to have this guy. Even they have some information, right? Classless. So this site is running with the protocol. Okay, I'll this guy I'm going to get with the OSP one, and let's take a screenshot. Tool and done. Hey guys, in normally organization, what happened? In normal, I'm talking on the normal enterprise, not the big enterprise network. In normal enterprise network, what happened? You're not running with the single routing protocol. You're running with a multiple routing protocol. Like maybe sometimes you're running with a combination of the static and EIGRP with the OSPF. EIGRP is number one with the EIGRP is number two. We are running with the BGP as well as we are running with the ISIS protocol as well as, but not only one. The reason, do you know why EIGRP rumors? What is EIGRP rumors? The reason is only the each protocol has a different behavior. Each protocol has a different. If I'm talking about the RIP protocol, what is RIP? RIP is a distance vector routing protocol. What is OSPF? OSPF is a link state routing protocol. What is EIGRP? EIGRP is an advanced distance vector routing protocol. It's like a hybrid. What is BGP? It's like what do we call it? BGP is a distance vector routing protocol, but they do have ability, right? They support the path vector as well as because they have a path information. And even the in OSPF and ISS protocol are same almost, right? Both are link state, but they have a different use cases over there. If I'm going to talk about the tier 1 and tier 2, right, ISP, the always recommendation to use the ISS protocol. And in the enterprise or a small ISP, we can see that the tier 3 ISP, right, or the enterprise network, it's a recommendation to use the OSPF. Again, for the enterprise, is recommendation to use for the EIGRP. Like if you have a default route, right? So always you're going to facing to the default route via the static route as well as, and sometimes you're going to use the static route as well as. So you cannot say that this one is bad, this one is good, you are bad, and I'm good. Everyone has a different requirement, and depend on the requirement, we are deploying the protocol. Okay, take example, we have a tier 1 and tier 2 as well, a very big ISP. Can I deploy the EIGRP over there? Yeah, you can deploy, but it will affect on the router CPU as well as because they don't have a much like the capacity. This guy is not much flexible, right? Because in EIGRP, what happened is works on the routing by rumors. Whatever neighbor will tell me, hey, this is the best, you have to believe it. So I cannot deploy the tier 1 and tier 2 as a EIGRP protocol. We have to always go through the ISS. Can I deploy the static route where you have a like a 1000 plus route? No, you cannot deploy. So each protocol has a different behavior. But the problem, do you know what's problem is happening with the two different routing protocols? It's like a two different domain. It's like a domain one, and this guy's like a domain two, the green one. What this guy is telling you, hey, I'm running with the like my metric calculation. If I'm going to talk about what is metric calculation over there, I'm going to use the cost, the lean cost. They're saying that hey, I'm going to use the key values as a metric. I'm going to use the key values. So can you see that both have a different matrix over there and two different domain. And by default, what happened in an enterprise network? This is my own company, right? This is my single company. In the single company, we are running with the both protocol. What happened when R1 is going to advertise this route? I'm talking to this guy right now. When R1 is going to advertise this route, what R1 will do? R1 will share this information to the router number 2 via OSPF, and router number 2 will have this information in the routing table like this. Okay, cool. I will have a 11 O route as 11.11.11.11.0/24. Right, then we have some AD values, some metric will we have, and then we have a next topic will be 12.1. I'm learning this info 0/0. Same thing we have O, right? 1.0.0.0/8. Then after that we have a one AD value, some metric. Then we have a 12.1 and 0/0. Same thing. EIGRP is also going to share this information, right? So R4 is going to share this information to the R3, and now R3 will share this information to the R2. Again, now R2 will maintain this information in the routing table. He said, okay, I'm going to learn this information D for the 4.0.0.0.0. 90 will be, it is some metric will be there. Next will be 23 on 0/1 interface. D 44.0.0.0 and D 34.0. So can you see that the router number 2, this interface is belongs to the which protocol? I'm talking this interface, guys. This interface is belongs to the OSPF, right? And whereas this interface is now belongs to the which protocol? In EIGRP. So can I say like this router is behave like a border router? Why I'm calling this border router? Because this router has a complete knowledge about the OSPF domain as well as at the same time, this guy has a knowledge about the EIGRP domain as well as two different domain 1 and domain 2. Compare like this is Nepal and this is India. And whatever the cities are present, right, that's called as a border. So whatever the people are present in this city, right, XYZ city, so they know about the Nepal as well as they know how to talk with the Nepal people, right? And they know how to talk with the Indian people as well as because this guy is like a border person. He knows, right? He knows about every languages, whatever the languages they are talking, they are using in Nepal, and whatever the language they are using in India. They know very well how to talk with this person. So we can call this guy as a border person, right? Same like that in the networking, what happened? This interface belong to the OSPF, this interface belong to the EIGRP. We can call this guy as a border router because this guy has a complete knowledge over the routing protocol. So not routing protocol, routing information. But you know what happened by default? By default, whatever the route that I'm learning, right, from the OSPF, R2 will learn on this particular interface, but R2 cannot share this information to the EIGRP domain. Same thing, whatever the route that I'm learning from the EIGRP, I will have this information, right? But I cannot share this information to the OSPF because these are the two different domains, right? Same like that, Nepal person cannot go to the India by default, and Indian peoples cannot go to the Nepal by default. You have to take a permission from the government, right? If you want to go to any country, what happened? You need to take a visa, right? Yeah, different multicast domain. What is the multicast comes in the picture now? Don't say the multicast. Multicast is a totally different topic, right? It's a very big topic. This is the unicast we are discussing right now. All we have a class A, class B, class C address, not the class D. You're talking about the multicast address of the HRP newspaper. Yeah, they have a different one. Why the R2 is not sending OS paper out into the EHGRP and vice versa? The reason, this guy, both have a different metric. They cannot understand the metric. This is not an actual reason. This is one of the reason. So in that case, whatever the user are setting by default, they are not advertising actually. By default, the OSPF information cannot say to the EIGRP, and EIGRP cannot say the own information to the OSPF. So whatever the user that are setting behind this R4, or we can say the EIGRP domain, and whatever the user are setting in the OSPF domain, they cannot communicate to each other. No communication will happen between this guy to this guy. And what we have to do, we need to provide the communication because it's not a big deal. We are running with a multiple routing protocol in the enterprise network. So if you want to provide the communication between these two guys, what we have to call? We have to call the person, that name is redistribution. And this is called as a route redistribution. What is the meaning of redistribution? If you just Google it, the meaning of redistribution is what? Exchanging the route between the two domain. So once I'm going to put this guy on the router number 2, what happened? Now the OSPF information will inject into the EIGRP, and EIGRP will inject all information into the OSPF domain. Now they can exchange the routing information. Now they can exchange the routing information. We just need to go on the router number 2, and on the router number 2, we have to put this guy, and what this guy is going to do, this guy is going to make us some manual configuration, and based on that, what happened, they can exchange the routing information. What kind of manual configuration we have to do on the router number 2 now? On the router number 2, right now, how many boxes we have? 2 boxes, right? Box 1, box number 2. This box belongs to the OSPF. This box belongs to the EIGRP. And here is the redistribution guy. In the OSPF box, what information I have right now? In the EIGRP box, what information I have? I'm just talking about this information right now, not the transit network. We have two boxes on the router number one. This interface is belongs to this guy, and this interface belongs to this guy, right?
Yes.
This person, right? Redistribution person has to come into this box first of all, EIGRP. You can go to the any boxes. It's up to you guys. I'm talking the perspective of EIGRP right now. Under the EIGRP box, what happened? This guy will say that, hey, first of all, I need to go in the router EIGRP box. How do I move in the router EIGRP box? Put the command router EIGRP number one. After once will enter in the EIGRP box, now what I'm telling this person, hey, whatever the OSPF route is there, bring all the OSPF route into the EIGRP domain. Redistribute all the route, which route that's belong to the OSPF, which process ID 1. And once this route is coming to the EIGRP domain, whatever the route that is present in the OSPF domain, once I'm going to bring this route into the EIGRP domain, what happened? OSPF has a matrix is a link cost. EIGRP has a key values. I need to define the metric, whatever the route is coming from, right? This route is coming from the EIGRP OSPF to the EIGRP, right? So I need to define the metric before injecting in the EIGRP table. I need to define the metric for this person. And what metric I'm going to do? Any metric, any key values. What is the range of key values we have? From 0 to 255. Sorry, what is the metric we have key values? Depend on the link, we have a different metric. If you see over there, so IP, so interface 0/0. What's the different values we have? We have a bandwidth over there, 10,000 kilobits. It's all like delay. We have 1,000 microsecond reliability. We have load. We have MTU. We have. What I'm telling this for, hey, whatever the route that is coming from the OSPF, I need to define the metric for this guy, and what metric I'm going to use. Okay, define anything up to you, but it always recommendation to use. It always recommendation to use the metric that is specified on the interface. Because if you're going to use the different metric values, for example, instead of the 10,000, I can use the 100 as well as. Forget the 100, I can use the 1 as well as. I can define the 1 as well as easy way, right? And it works. So what happened now, whatever the route that is coming from the OSPF into the EIGRP, they all calculate the metric based on the this values, right? But what's the default values we have? We have this one is the default values. But always recommendation to use the default values. I can put anything, right? And after that, what? This 5K values. Once I did this thing now, EIGRP is going to install all this information as a D external route, right? These are the external route into the EIGRP box 4.0.0.0.0 and D external 44.0.0.0. And that has a AD values of 170 and 170. Once we have done this part now, and I'm done here, right? Now we need to go and exit. Now this person, right? Which person? The redistribution person. I'm going to remove this guy now from there. And now this person is going to move in which box? OSPF. Right? And now, how do I move in the OSPF box? I need to say the router OSPF number 1. I need to call this guy redistribution. Which protocol? Hey, whatever the route that is present in the EIGRP domain, bring all the route into the only the EIGRP route into the OSPF. How do I call it? EIGRP number 1. So whatever the EIGRP route, whatever the EIGRP route we have, this 4.0 and 44.0 now is going to inject into the in which domain. Now this protocol will come in. This route is coming the OSPF domain 44.0.0.0.0. Do I need to define the metric over there, guys? For the OSPF, it's optional. Metric you can define, it's up to you guys. If you're not define, you can define it. If you don't define it, it will work. But if you don't define the metric over there, it won't work. Because it will take like an infinite metric, like metric will be considered like a zero, right? Metric zero, or we can say metric zero means what? It's not going to use the metric concept, and metric infinite means what? I'm not going to install that information in the routing table. This is the very basic command what, and after putting this simple command, now the all this router is going to exchange the information. This is called as a route redistribution, guys. So if you have a look over there, what are the pre-configuration we have? I'll show you the R1 configuration first of all, the IP configuration, not the anything. So IP interface brief. Let me know if you have any question from the IP, right? So IP root, you can see that I have a 12.1 and 11.0/24 is there, classless. On the router number 2 now, so IP interface brief. We have a proper IP addressing on the router number 2 as well as on the router number 3. So IP interface brief, great. And on the router number 4, according to the diagram. Perfect, right? I don't have a loop back number 2, so let's create it. Done. What I'm going to do, I'm going to advertise this route into the OSPF router, OSPF number 1 on the router number 1. And how do I advertise this guy? Is going to call this guy, right? Area 0 and network 1.0.0.0. Area 0 network 11.11.11.11.0 and define the wildcard words and area 0. Done. On the router number 2 now, 12.0 and call this guy into the area 0. They'll form the neighborship. Now at the same time, I'm going to run the different routing protocol on this guy. That's a 23.0 into the EIGRP. Same thing on a Gono R3 now. I'm going to enable all the interfaces. I just put the network 0.0.0.0. And on R4 as well as put the 0.0.0. Not awaiting. So now R4 has formed the EIGRP neighborship with the R3. If you come back to the R3 now, R3 will form the 2 neighborship and it's done. And if you go back to the R2, R2 will form the 1 neighborship with the OSPF and 1 neighborship with the EIGRP. So they form the EIGRP neighborship. You have to wait for some time because OSPF is a slow routing protocol as compared to the EIGRP. Now it comes up. And if you have a look now on R2, I do have all information in my R2 routing table. If I'm going to talk about the EIGRP or OSPF, OSPF, EIGRPs. But R2 cannot share this information, the OSPF domain information into the EIGRP. If you go back to the check on the R3 router, hey, do I have this information about the 1.0 and 11.0? No. And if you go back to the router number 1 and check, hey, do you have a 4.0 information in my routing table? This information I'm talking about on R1? No, I don't have this information. So by default, R2 behave like a border router. They cannot share the information. You have to ask me first of all, what we have to do over there. I need to go on the router number 1, EIGRP number 1. I need to call this guy, hey, redistribute whatever the route is coming from the OSPF. Define the metric. Same thing. We go in the router OSPF box, redistribute what are the protocol EIGRP is this. Do I need to define the metric? No. But if you put the enter over there, what he's telling you, only the class pool network will be redistributed into the OSPF. So what happened? Now this route, classful, this route, and this route will redistribute into the OSPF domain, not the 40.0.0.0. It's, if you go and I want to check if this guy to do show IP route now, I do have this information. Can you see that? Why this guy is coming 40 dot? Okay, 1 minute. This should be not. I didn't forget to put the command no autos on it. Perfect. It's not coming. Cool, right? And if you go back to the router number 4 now and check this guy, I have this information right as a D external. Internal route has a 9080, summary route has a 580, and external route has a 17080. And if you see do show IP HIP topology table 1.0.0.0.0. Okay, come on, do show IP HIP topology. Can you see I'm puzzling on router number 4, and this 101 is belong to the R1. What happened? The route is coming from the OSPF domain. And who is doing the redistribution right now? And who is 2.2.2.2? R2. I can send the traffic, no issue. If you see, I can send my traffic from here. It's walking from R4 to this guy. But again, what happened? By default, R2 will only advertise the class pool. If you're not redistribute the classless router, what we have to do over there, I need to go on the OSPF router OSPF number 1 and redistribute the which protocol? EIGRP number 1. I need to include the submits keyword. And what submits keyword is telling you, hey, redistribute the classless route as well as. So now if you check on router number 1, I do have a 44.0/24 as well as now. So subnets keyword, right, just going to tell you, hey, you have to redistribute the classless route as well as. If you don't put this keyword, what happened? Only the class pool will be redistributed. What I point out there, guys, over there, by default, EIGRP will redistribute all types of route, classful and classless as well. By default, In OSPF protocol, guys, we have a in OSPF protocol we have a 6 type of route. Okay, one we have a O route, one we have a OIA route, one we have a E2 route, and one we have a E1 route, the one we have a N2 route, and one we have a N1 route. O route, same area, a route that is coming in the same area. OI miss. We'll discuss this part in the like the OSPF routing protocol as well as I'm just giving the overview. If you know, that's good. And always this is the part of the season, right? O route. OI means what? It's a different area. A route is coming from the different area. E2 means what? External type 2. Now you have to pay attention over there. By default, metric is 20 for all IGP for BGP it's 1. E1 external type 1. Here the metric will be depend on the link host. So we can see that here the metric is what? Static, that is fixed. Here the metric is dynamic. It's not fixed, right? It's depend on the link. By default, it takes E2, external type 2. Whenever you're doing the NSC area, then it comes in the picture. So that's why I'm not going to talk about this part right now. Forget it. But yeah, we have a 6 type of route in the OSPF. So if you see, all this route is coming by what on in the R1 OSPF domain E2. What's metric? What's metric? What's metric? And what's metric? 20. Doesn't matter how far from here, right? It's always 20. If you go back to the on a R1, if you check, it will be 20. On a R2, if you check, it will be 20. If you check on R3, it will be 20. If you check on R4, it will be 20. If you check on R5, it will be 20. So 20 will be there. 20 also will be there. 20 also will be there. 20 also will be there, and 20 also will be there in the part of E2. What is the link cost of this? The cost of this link is 10, 10, 10 by default on the Ethernet media. On the fast Ethernet, I'm talking about. But in the case of like E1, that's I call this guy as a dynamic, right? Why I'm calling this guy 20 plus on R2, it will see like a 30, 30 plus 40, 40 plus 10, 50, and 50 plus 10, 60. So if you're going to use the E1, you will have a 60 on R5. If you're going to use the E2, you will have a 20 on R for all IGP route, 20 for all IGP route, BGP for 1. So if you have a look over there, what's happening? 20. Let's do one thing. On a R2, I'm going to call 2 more protocol. Not 2, 3 more protocol, 3 more things, right? I'll just clear the concept of the metric concept, right? That's important over there because everyone knows the redistribution, but most of the person they don't have an idea of this part. Go to R2 and do one thing, create some loopback that is given according to this diagram, right? This guy is running with the VGP side. and everything I'm going to configure on R2. So on R2, first of all, I'm going to configure the static dot IP route 8.0.0.0.0 and pointing to 20.3. I want to redistribute, right? I want to redistribute this route into the OSPM. How do I redistribute? I just need to go on the OSPM and say that, hey, redistribute the static route. This is just a warning message. Hey, I only read the class pool network. That's not a big deal. This is a class pool. And now if you check on R1, I will get this information 8.0.0.0 as a E2. What I told you, by default, it will take a E2. So for the static, what's the metric? It will take 20 because it's part of the IGP, right? Same way, I'll do one thing. I'll create some loopback more on R2. I'll create the interface loopback number 2. That's okay. Let me check. Do we have a loopback or not? I do have interface loopback number 2. That's a 20.20.20.20. And I'm going to advertise this two loopback into the RIP protocol version 2 network 2.0.0.0 and network 20.0.0.0. By default, R2 will never share this RIP information, not in the OSPF, neither in the EIGRP. What we have to do, I need to call this guy, hey, under the OSPF. You can call anywhere. I'm just going to show you, try to show you the concept of the right now metric. Redistribute RIP protocol. Do I need to put the subnets keyword? No. And what happened? Again, R2 will share this information as E2 into the OSPF domain. What's the metric is happening? At the same time, I'm going to R2 router and I'll create some more loopback 3, you know, 101. Done. BGP. I need to redistribute this route into the OSPF, right? Redistribute BGP number by default classful, no issue, right? Go back to the R1. What's the metric is happening? 1. See the thing. So all this guy, right? Try to understand this part. I'll paste over there. Like this. Do one thing. Oh, come on. See over there. Okay, the red one, right? The red one I'm going to use for the EIGRP, right? The blue one I'm going to use for the static. Black one I'm going to use for the RIP. The which color is this? Green, I think so. Green one I'm going to use the BGP. See the difference. The red one, EIGRP. So what was the red one was there? We have the red one is this one. 20, 20. If you see the blue one, that's a static out, they also have a 20. By default, it will take the E2. If you see the black one that we have for the RIP protocol, so the RIP we have a 2.0, 20, and even the 20.0. And if you see the green one, that's for the BGP, right? The metric is 1 over there as well as the green one. Great, right? So the conclusion point is very simple, guys, that I told you, right? They have a, different, E2 has a matrix is different 20, sorry, for IGP dot, for the BGP it will be 1, and for the E1 it will be a anything. If you just go to R1 router number 2, and I call this guy, take example on router number 2, I want to redistribute the BGP, but as a what? As a metric type 1, not the 2. So if you see only the BGP route, this route 1.0, 2.0, 3.0 will be redistributed as a what? E1. Also metric is happening. Default is 10, and I'm adding the 1 over there. The BGP for 1, right? Default is 10. The BGP for 1 and default of 10, so 11 is happening. Same thing if I'm going to remake the E1, so what happened? Default is 20, 10 is this guy, 30 will be seen. If you go back to the R2 and say that, hey, whatever the router is for number 1, redistribute, RIP protocol, metric type, what happened? Default is 20 for IGP route, and the metric of this particular link is 10. So what happened? 30. Cool, right? So this is how the redistribution is going to work. Even, take example, I'll add something more over there. Which route I'm going to add over there? Okay, let's add something 200 dot 200 dot 200 dot 200 dot 0 slash 24 and 100 dot 0 0 slash 8. This two route I'm going to add over there. And I'm not going to call this guy, I'm not going to call this guy into the any routing protocol. Okay. I'm not going to call this guy into the any routing protocol. Go to R2 and create this loopback, interface loopback number 10 and 200.200.200.200. Okay. And slash 24 and interface loopback number 11. That's 100.100.100.100 slash 8 over there. I'm not going to advertise this one. I do have an ability, right, in the OSPF, not OSPF. This is the part of the redistribution. I do have an ability. I can redistribute the connected route as well as. This information only seen in the OSPF, not in the EIGRP, because EIGRP do have ability to redistribute all the type of route, right? EIGRP will redistribute all the type of route. OSPF only do the class one. That's why they are giving the just a warning message. So now, if you go back to the R1, what happened? This route will be seen, right? This connected route. It's not there. Why? What happened? Yeah. What is that? Yep. Yeah. Sweet. So I'm not advertising this route into the any routing people. I just should say that, hey, redistribute connected. I can redistribute all the connected route into the host. Even if you check on R4, do I have this information? Like, this 200 or so and 100 or so? No. I want to redistribute into the EIGRP as well as, how do I call it? Under the EIGRP box and say that redistribute what? Sorry, connected. So will I redistribute this guy? All done. What are the connected out they have? All the connected out has advertised. This 200 or 0, 100 or 0 loop backs over there, this loop backs, all they are connected as on R2, right? Right? So this is how you can call this guys a redistribution. For example, what happened if this guy is running with the EIGRP number 2? Then even if you're running with the EIGRP number 2, they cannot exchange the information by default because we have a two different ACE number over there. two different domain is happening. Domain number two and domain number one, they cannot exchange the information. If you exchange it, you need to do the redistribution. But here you cannot. Here you don't need to define the metric values, right? It's option. If you define the metric value, for example, for the OSPF, you can define it. Take example, go to R2, and I say the router OSPF number one, redistribute a static route, and define the cost for this metric, right? Metric for this route. I want to define the 10,000. So what a static route I have? 8.0.0.0. So I'm adding the cost 10,000 in the normal matrix. So if you go back to the R1 and see show IP route, so 8.0.0.0, the cost is what? So it's optional to define the metric, right? So if you not change the path, you can do that, right? So take example, I'm going to configure this guy's EIGRP number two now. And let's remove the old stuff from there. No router host of one and no router host of one as well as, and no router EIGRP, no redistribute connection. So everything is normal right now. And say the router EIGRP number two, network 12.0, and on R1 as well as router EIGRP number one, network 12.0. All done. Good. So okay, so the two right. All done. Great. So R1 has formed the neighborhood with R2, right? So if you check, do I have this information EIGRP number two information in my routing table? Sorry, EIGRP number one information in my routing table? No. And if you go back to the R4 and check, hey, do I have information about the 1.0 and 11.0 that belong to the EIGRP number two? No. I need to go on the router number two, and router number two is running with the two different, EIGRP. So if you say do show IP EIGRP topology table, we have two different AS number, right? Can you see that? This is for the AS number one table till this point, and after that we have a AS number two table. I need to go on the router number two and tell this guy, hey, do one thing, router EIGRP number one, redistribute EIGRP number two. No need to define the metric over there, it will work, and redistribute EIGRP number one. And now it's good to go. On R4 check, I do have a external out. That's not coming. Okay, I haven't advertised. I think so. Go on R4 and check now. See, and same thing. If you go back to the R1 and check this information, it will be there. So did I define any metric values over there? No. For the OS, for the EIGRP to EIGRP, you are not, because both are the same metric calculation, right? So you don't need to define the any metric values over there. If you're not defining, you can define again. It's optional, right? If you go to R2 and see that, hey, I'm going to define EIGRP number one, what metric I'm going to use for the bandwidth. The bandwidth I'm going to use the 10,000. That's a default one, not 1 lakh. That's a default of the fast Ethernet. Delays 100. That's a default value. Reliability I want to make 100%. Is a 255 is 100% reliability, right? What load I'm going to use over there? The load should be always lower. So one, and MQ will be 15. This is a default value, right? I can define it on there. And how do I check the default value? Based on the interface. If you see on the interface, do so interface 0/0, include delay. This is the default value, right? 10th. Is it 10,000? Okay, not a big deal. I define 1 lakh. So you have to always check first of all this guy, and according to that, you have to define it. I have defined the 100, but it will take the 1,000 as I told you, right? Right? If always you're going to define the delay in the 10 second, it will convert in the microsecond over there. Sorry. always you are going to define the delay in the normal, they will convert into the 10 second over there. So if you define the 10, it will convert 100. If you define the 100, it will convert 1000. And if you define the 1000, it will convert into the 10,000. So you can define it. It's optional. Now you can see on R1, can you see that the matrix is now changed? Previously, the 44 of the matrix is this one, and now the matrix has changed. So if you change the key values, right, like not key values, if you change the matrix values, the matrix will change. So that's why it always recommendation to use, okay, the default values of the interface, so that every router, right, in the EIGRP domain will use the same bandwidth and delay to calculate the matrix. And now if you put the show IP EIGRP topology table 4.0.0.0, what this guy's coming saying that, hey, okay, this route I'm getting for the 200 or 200. Who is the 200 or 200? This router ID of R2, and I'm getting this route from the ACE number one, right? So now R1 I'm present. I can get, okay, this information is coming from the router number 4. Take example, if you have a RIP protocol configure over there, not a, you have a RIP protocol over there, you have BGP over there, right? And you have a static route as well as this guy, right? And you want to redistribute this route into the RIP EIGRP domain. So how many times you need to put this configuration? If you see, I need to call this guy router EIGRP number 1 and redistribute the BGP number 1. And what I have to define the metric 10,000 for the bandwidth, 100 is delay, reliability is 255, load is 1 and 1500. Again, I need to call this guy RIP and define the same values. Redistribute the static route, define the same value. So if you have a multiple things, right, you have to define the multiple times. For example, like ESRP number 2, define the matrix. So instead of doing this thing, I can call this guy as a default matrix. How do I call? I just need to go on the router EIGRP mode, right? On a router number 1, anywhere, and I say the default matrix is what? I define the 10,000 for the bandwidth, delay is 100, reliability is 255, and load is 1 and 1500 MTU. And now this will be applicable for every person. Whatever the route that will be, whatever the routing protocol that will be redistributed into the EIGRP, use this default matrix. So in that case, what happens? You don't need to define manually keyword over there. So you can use the default matrix concept of theirs. Is done. Anyone has a question, guys? Here I'm done with your redistribution. Again, I'm telling you, this is the very important. If you don't know about the redistribution, please watch the video. Let me know if you have any questions, because if you don't know the redistribution, without redistribution, you cannot go for the CCNP. You cannot learn the CCNP without redistribution. Redistribution, summarization, filtering, these are the actually the backbone of the the routing. All good.
Yeah, okay.
You guys just need to see redistribution is not hard. Okay, everyone has a knowledge of the redistribution. You just need to pay attention with the matrix concept. That's it. And the now how I just show you the very basic redistribution. I didn't go in the much detail. It's just a very basic. I don't want to show you the hard one right now. Okay, you do have an ability to filter the route based on the redistribution as well as. I don't want to show you right now, because if you want to show you what happened, you will get confused because you don't know the route filtering right now. Okay. So that's why I didn't see that. So like I'll show you. But again, registration is important. Okay, quick announcement. We do have a batch on the Sunday again. The topic will be EIGRP stuff and EIGRP named mode and EIGRP is no. Timing same. Yep. Timing will be 1 p.
एक बजे होगा
Sorry.
होगा लेक्चर्स संडे को
क्या?
मैं तो संडे को 1 बजे होगा 2 बजे नहीं होगा
नहीं 1 बजे होगा.
या
ये 2 बजे तक में 3 घंटे में नहीं हो पाएगा ये सब.
ओके
All good.
या
After that, we'll see on the Monday. I'll show you the route filtering. Okay, and then your Monday will be done. Your EHRP. So on the Tuesday onwards, we can go for the OSPF. And what I want from you guys for in the OSPF protocol, you just need to have a basic knowledge. CC level stuff. Like what is DR, what is BDR, this thing, whatever the EHRP states we have, right? And packets. These are the very basic one. If you don't know,